Today, Nolly Elementary would like to recognize all of our March Leaders of the Month. We are so proud of these students for their outstanding leadership in the classroom, on the playground, in the lunchroom, and in the hallways here at Nolly. Every day, these students work hard to exhibit the 7 habits. I will recognize students in each grade and tell you a little something about them. First, I'd like to recognize our kindergarten leaders of the month. Our first student is in Mrs. Gubeau's class, and that is Ben Largent. Ben is being recognized for being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, and putting first things first. Mrs. Gubeau said, "I am so proud of the leader Ben is. He comes into school ready to learn, and he always tries his very best." Great job, Ben. In Mrs. Parton's class, we have Ezra Vance. Ezra is being recognized for beginning with the end in mind. Mrs. Parton said, "I am so proud of Ezra. He pushes himself to do his work even though he may not want to. He wants to do good because he knows it'll help him grow. Ezra, you can do amazing things. Keep up the hard work." Great job, Ezra. Now on to Mrs. Zukowski's class. Our first leader there is Natalie Noble. Natalie is being recognized for being proactive. Natalie chooses kindness when she thoughtfully helped our new student settle into our classroom. Thank you for being a good friend, Natalie. We also have Eric Hampton. Eric begins with the end in mind. Eric has made it a goal to make his work neat, colorful, and full of detail. Thank you for putting forth your very best effort on your work, Eric. Great job. In Mrs. Craig's room, we have Kensley Cool. Kensley is being recognized for beginning with the end in mind. Mrs. Craig said Kensley has been working very hard in kindergarten and has been especially a hard worker at reading. Great job, Kensley. We also have kindergarten leaders in Mrs. Grary's room that are learning online. Our first student is CJ Lieb. Mrs. Grary said CJ is a bright light in our class. He is always excited and happy to be in class and share. Great job, CJ. Also, in Mrs. Grary's class, we have Hunter Whip. Hunter has made great progress in our virtual classroom. Mrs. Grary said he is working hard and showing more eagerness to participate. We are so proud of your hard work, Hunter. Great job. Our first grade leader is in Mrs. Bowser's room. Jada Green. Jada is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Bowser said Jada always reviews any mistakes that she makes on a paper, and she works hard to master the first grade standards. She is definitely a very hard worker. Great job, Jada. We also have Austin Carcione. Austin is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Bowser said Austin is always willing to lend a helping hand and puts forth his very best effort. Great job, Austin. In Mrs. Carmichael's room, we have Calvin Kemp. Calvin is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Carmichael said Calvin comes to school each morning with a smile on his face and ready to learn. Keep up the hard work, Calvin. Also in Mrs. Carmichael's room, we have Mason Calvert. Mason is proactive and puts first things first. Mrs. Carmichael said Mason is such a hard worker and a leader in her classroom. Keep up the hard work. You are definitely a first grade leader, Mason. In Mrs. Fiesler's room, we have Ellie Freeman. Ellie is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Fiesler said Ellie has taken charge of her learning and she knows she has to work hard and do hard things. We are so proud of all of her efforts in first grade. Way to go, Ellie. Also, we have Cooper Adams in Mrs. Fiesler's room. Cooper is putting first things first. Mrs. Fiesler said Cooper has really stepped up his learning game as he switched from virtual learning to in-person learning here at Nolly, and his hard work is really paying off. We are very proud of you, Cooper. Up next, we have Mrs. Rector's leaders. The first student is Sienna Petrakovich. Sienna is being recognized for beginning with the end in mind. Mrs. Rector said Sienna is working very hard at reading every day in her classroom. We are so proud of all of her hard work. We also have Alex Lasik. Alex is beginning with the end in mind. Mrs. Rector said Alex works hard to achieve his goals and always strives to do his best. We also have an online leader, and this student is being recognized by Miss Brittany, and that student is Ella Bailey. Ella comes to school on her online classes every day, ready to learn. She is always ready to work hard and actively participate in the live meets. We are so proud of you, Ella. Keep up the hard work. Okay, now I'd like to recognize our second grade leaders of the month. First, we have Ace Smith in Mrs. Grandin's room. Ace is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Grandin said Ace is always making good proactive choices with his classroom responsibilities. Mrs. Grandin never needs to remind him about his leadership job. Great job, Ace. Also in Mrs. Grandin's room, we have Carson Tipton. Carson synergizes. Mrs. Grandin said Carson is so kind and caring to everyone in room 115. What a class synergizer. Great job, Carson. In Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Peyton Seiler. Peyton is being recognized for putting first things first. Mrs. Rankin said, I have seen great improvement with Peyton. He is really taking school seriously. He is working hard in and out of school. I am very proud of your determination, Peyton. Keep it up. Also in Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Lacey Howard. Lacey synergizes. Mrs. Rankin said Lacey is friendly to all. She is always willing to help others when she can. Keep up your great work, Lacey. You are a great friend. In Mrs. Slimak's room, we have Eason Boyd. Eason thinks win-win. Mrs. Slimak said Eason always thinks win-win and is proud of his own success as well as his peers. Thank you, Eason. Also in Mrs. Slimak's room, we have Brody Bennett. Brody puts first things first. Mrs. Slimak said Brody works hard each day and always prioritizes his work to complete all of his tasks. Way to work hard, Brody. Great job. In Mrs. Van Dorsten's room, we have Alex Jones. Alex puts first things first. Mrs. V said Alex is a hard worker at home and at school. He always puts first things first. Way to go, Alex. Also in Mrs. Van Dorsten's room, we have Brady Cook. Brady puts first things first. Mrs. V said Brady always makes sure his work is done and gives his best effort on everything he turns in. That's amazing, Brady. Great job. We have an online leader with Miss Brittany, and that is Jackson Russ. Jackson is being recognized for Habit 3. Jackson always comes into the live meets with all of his work and ready to go. He raises his hand and follows along with every lesson in online learning. Way to go, Jackson. Now I would like to recognize our third grade leaders of the month. Our first student is in Mrs. Braley's class, and that is Aiden Regular. Aiden thinks win-win. Mrs. Braley said, Aiden is newer to Nolly and has always strived to do his best. He always is respectful and has a great attitude towards learning. Way to be a Nolly leader, Aiden. Also, we have Annie Harmon in Mrs. Braley's class, who is proactive. Annie aims to please. She is such a hard worker and strives to do her very best always. Way to go, Annie. In Mrs. Esterly's room, we have Evelyn Williams. Evelyn sharpens the saw. Mrs. Esterly said Evie does a great job at recess finding ways to take a break from her schoolwork, like helping others or drawing. Way to go, Evie. We also have Max Adams in Mrs. Esterly's room. He synergizes. Mrs. Esterly said Max does a great job getting along with all of the kids in our classroom. Thank you, Max, for being a good friend. In Mrs. Stasnis's room, we have Eliana Evans. Eliana puts first things first. Mrs. Stasnis said Ellie is always on the ball when it comes to completing her work. She pays attention, and she always pays attention to details, too. Great job, Ellie. We have Wyatt Yoakum in Mrs. Stasnis' room, who synergizes. Mrs. Stasnis said Wyatt is consistently kind and a good friend. He is always looking for ways to be a good teammate in room 110. Thank you, Wyatt. In Mr. Straub's room, we have Grayson Thomas. Grayson synergizes. Mr. Straub said Grayson does a good job on getting his work completed and then doing what he can to help others in the room. Thank you, Grayson. We also have Braden Keel. Braden puts first things first. Lately, Braden has really done a better job of sticking to the knitting and putting more effort into his work. We are so proud of his efforts in third grade. Way to go, Braden. We have one student online that's learning in Mrs. Millville's room in third grade, and that is Claire Benner. Claire is new to the virtual class and has a done a great job of beginning with the end in mind. She has tried hard to learn the new rules of online education so she can be successful. We miss Claire at school, but we are happy she is being a leader online. Thank you, Claire. Finally, we have our 4th grade March Leaders of the Month. The first student is in Mrs. Gardner's room, and that is Bailey Thomas. Bailey puts first things first. Mrs. Gardner said Bailey is a proactive, hardworking 4th grader who has made a lot of growth this year. Keep up the great work, Bailey. In Mrs. Matson's room, we have Noah Seeker. Noah puts first things first. Mrs. Matson said Noah has transitioned back to in-person learning very well this semester. We are proud of his hard work and we welcome him back to school. We also have Gatlin Mead in Mrs. Oaks' room. Gatlin begins with the end in mind. Mrs. Oaks said Gatlin has worked hard lately to become a mature 4th grader. He is becoming a positive role model in her classroom. Thank you, Gatlin. In Mrs. Toth's room, we have Randy Simons. Randy is being recognized for being proactive. Mrs. Toth said Randy is a model 4th grader, always ready to learn by being proactive. Thank you for your hard work, Randy. We also have an online student with Mrs. Millville, and that is Owen Bailey. Mrs. Millville said Owen Bailey loves to sharpen the saw. He was a fabulous Grinch in our Reader's Theater. Owen brings a smile to every Google Meet, and he is always polite. Great job, Owen. Congratulations to all of our Nolly Leaders of the Month. The entire staff at Nolly is so proud of all of these March leaders. Keep up the outstanding leadership, students. We are so proud of you. I hope everyone has a fantastic spring break.